Okay. Hey, everyone. We've got Dr. Olivia Cooke on the podcast today. And I am sure you will all agree that she is a rock star after I give you a little brief. This is her shortened bio, by the way, her shortened bio. Dr. Olivia Cooke serves as the president CEO of Olivia Cooke Enterprises, LLC, which is a minority woman owned company founded in July 2020 and based in Birmingham, Alabama, that provides strategic consulting services on topics such as leadership development, economic development, and entrepreneurship to institutions, nonprofit organizations, and government entities, which, by the way, are all the same things that I love. over, over the span of her career, Dr. Cook's leadership has contributed significantly to the advancement of women in leadership and entrepreneurship through her scholarly publications, public speaking engagements, and premier grant writing skills, which is something that is, by the way, becoming few and far between finding those grant writers. That is a huge skill set to have. As a direct reflection of her impactful work, she secured the funding and led the establishment of the Miles College Women's Business Center located in Fairfield, Alabama, through a grant made possible by the U.S. Small Business Administration. So it does go to prove persistence,
That's it.
education, and determination does pay off. Dr. Cook is a native of Auburn, Alabama, and a tri alumni. Did I say that right? Of Auburn University. Holds a BS in polymer and fiber engineering and a minor in Spanish, a MPA, that's a master's of public administration, and a PhD in public administration and public policy. And I'm just letting you know she is not 90 years old to have already accomplished all of that. So seriously, like what spearheaded you down that path? Because really, if you like from that short bio, you're pretty like all inclusive of so many things.
Or all over the place, one of the two. I appreciate the warm introduction, and I appreciate your time, Lisa, as well, and for inviting me onto this podcast, onto this seat. I'm super excited to be here. And so, as you mentioned, from Auburn, Alabama, born and raised, proud
Yeah.
to be from Auburn. Graduated from Auburn High School, went on to attend Auburn University, and honestly didn't know what I wanted to major in, right? Knew I wanted to do something exciting and something that would probably ultimately lead to the medical field, which of course I'm not in, but wanted to go to medical school at one point. And so my mom, I was very strong in math and science in school. I
Okay.
was in the top 10% of my high school class, my graduating class. And so my mom was like, "You're very strong in math and science. So here are some majors that I'm thinking about you could probably do. You could go to be a pharmacist, be a doctor, or an engineer." And I was like, engineer seems like it might be the easiest of the three. Let's go be an engineer. And so I set off to Auburn and started off in chemical engineering at first, but
Oh.
chemistry, oh my goodness. When I tell you, they have this weed out class called Intro to Chemical Engineering, and it definitely weeded me out in my second year. I was like, gotta get out of here, gotta go to something else. And so
I
I ended
love
up,
how you called it what it is, a weed out
yeah,
class.
it's a weed out class for sure. And I was like, okay, I will take the first step and go on to something else. But I knew I wanted to stay in engineering because, as I mentioned at the time, I was like, I want to go to medical school. I think wanted to become like a biomedical engineer, and so develop prosthetics for those in developing countries. And so I was like, Auburn didn't have biomedical engineering, so Kimmy was the closest to that. And so when I started looking at other majors, polymer and fiber sort of popped up. It was a
Yeah.
small, intimate major, a lot of diversity in the space, and I could see myself really growing there. So I switched to polymer and fiber within that week of the intro to Kimmy class and never looked back. it was the best decision that I made. And it was actually my academic advisor, who was in polymer and fiber, Ashley Winfrey. She was incredible. She
Yeah.
was so nice and so welcoming, and she just felt motherly, if you will, coming on over to the field, telling me that she would be able to help and navigate, and help me reach my goal of graduating with the engineering degree. And she did that, and she did just that. So, got my background in polymer and fiber engineering. And since I was going to be in school a little bit longer, since switching my major, I was like, might as well get a minor. So I got my minor in Spanish as well. And then went on to get my master's and PhD in public administration and public policy. And my master's was more so focused on health administration,
Okay.
because once I got done with polymer and fiber, I was like, I don't know if I want to go to medical school anymore. I had shadowed different physicians, cardiologists, OBGYNs, any doctor you can think of, I shadowed them. And I was like, yeah, this is not for me. Maybe I should become like a CEO one day, CEO of a
So
hospital.
you went really far into it.
Oh yeah. I went deep into it. Deep, deep, deep,
Did
deep.
did you ever think about going to the National Healthcare Organization?
No, I didn't, because at the time I was so gung ho on becoming an MD, being the
Yeah.
first MD in my family. And then once I got done with polymer and fiber, I was like, what would it look like to be in healthcare administration? Like
Yes.
maybe the administrative side is what I would be really good at. And so I then shadowed the CEO of East Alabama Medical Center at the time, our local hospital. So I shadowed him for about 3 months, and I looked at all the different units and departments they had at EAMC. I sat in on a lot of his board meetings and meetings with his direct reports, his VPs. And then I was like, yeah, being in healthcare just isn't for me at all. So I made a pivot there. So don't be
You're
afraid
like, "I
to
love
pivot.
helping people, but there's gotta be another way."
Gotta be another way. Gotta be another way. And so then that's when I went on to get my PhD in public administration and public policy. And my focus was on American politics and nonprofit law and community governance. And it has been definitely, looking back over my career, definitely moments of pivot, definitely moments of adjusting, especially with my dreams, right? And what I
Yep.
want to ultimately do in life. And I think that's the beauty of living the life you want to live, is being able to adjust and go with the flow. And I think this is also going to be parallel to even mentorship, right? Because
Yes.
mentorship can be seasonal. It doesn't have to be a lifelong thing to where you stick with one person for the rest of your life. Mentors have seasons for you. And so, transition from there. And then once I graduated with my PhD, my dissertation went viral. It had over 3.5 million impressions around how Black women can advance to
Yep.
C-suite level positions. And
That's
so
great.
I didn't think it was going to go viral, but so many Black women and employers of Black women wanted to see how can they encourage authenticity. And so after that went viral, I was like, man, surely everybody's gonna want me. Like, I'm a threat, right? I have an engineering background, I have a PhD, I'm Black, I'm a woman, like
Yeah.
I'm checking all those proverbial boxes. And so nobody reached out, nobody wanted me. I was like, oh my goodness. And so graduated in December 2019, and of course in March 2020. COVID happened and the world shut down. So people
Yep.
were furloughing people and all of that. And so it took about a year and a half for me to get a full time job. I was doing different consulting work. I worked with the College of Business over at Auburn, worked for a state agency doing some research work for them, and ultimately was able to land my full time role at Miles College. And so the Alabama Commission on Higher Education, the state agency I was working part time for, they asked me to attend a Zoom call. They were like, can you attend this Zoom call for us? We really need your representation on it. I was like, yeah, absolutely. And it was a breakfast call at like 7 a.m. And President Bobby Knight, who was a president over at Miles College, she was one of the panelists on the call. They couldn't see us, but we could see them. And so I was just so attracted to her. I was attracted to her energy. I was attracted to everything she brought to the discussion. And so I sent her a cold email. I reached out. And I think this was something we were talking about even earlier before
Yes.
coming on, just
Yes.
reach out. So I sent that cold email, did not hear anything back. And so I waited about 3 weeks, sent another email just to follow up, did not hear anything
Now,
back.
real quick, I have to ask this question.
Yes.
During that 3-week period, did you go back and forth of saying, should I reach out again now, or is that too soon? Did you go through that?
Ooh, listen, I wanted to reach out within a week, but I was like, let me just give it some time because
Yep,
as a C-suite level executive, they're busy. They get 1,000 emails a day,
that's right.
So for me, I'm like, let me just give it some time. Maybe my email got lost in the shuffle, but she'll see it. So I reached out, of course, in that 3 week time frame, did not hear anything back. So I was like, okay, I waited another 3 weeks. And so, as I mentioned to you earlier, I call myself the queen of follow up because I feel like the fortune is in the follow up in everything that we do.
It's
And
true.
so, followed up again, and she wound up emailing me back. So it took almost about 2 months to hear back. And she was like, I'm so sorry. We've been going through COVID, still trying to manage that, manage all the things that come along with that. And I was like, I completely understand, and we were supposed to be meeting via Zoom. So she set me up with her secretary. We were supposed to meet via Zoom, and I called the day before the meeting. I was like, "Can I please meet with her in person?" And her secretary was like, "Let me see," because of course, still going through COVID, still
Yep.
wearing masks. And she called me back and she said, "President Mike can meet with you in person." So I was like, absolutely, this is great.
Yes.
Went to go meet the president, and when I tell you, my life changed from that meeting. She offered me a job on the spot, and so she offered me the job as becoming her inaugural executive director of the Center for Economic and Social Justice at Miles College. And that job, when I tell you, changed the entire trajectory of my life. It was incredible. So I stood up her Center for Economic and Social Justice, and also within the bio that you mentioned, I wrote a great grant with the U.S. Small Business Administration, and stood up the Miles College Women's Business Center at the same time. And so it was incredible to be able to be under her tutelage and her leadership, and create two different centers at the same time, and to help marginalized communities, underserved, underrepresented communities, and especially women and people of color. And
Yes.
so right now, the center, both centers are still in function. The Center for the Miles College Women's Business Center, it actually gets $150,000 every year from the grant that I wrote. So as long as there's money in Congress's budget, they get this grant every single year, this non-compete. And so that has been incredible. And so from my time at Miles, I actually left Miles in August. I started working for WeBank, the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. So I worked at WeBank for a few months. But as of recent, I don't think I mentioned this to you, Lisa, but I transitioned from WeBank in December to go all in on myself full time. And
Oh,
so
I love that. I love
it's
that
been,
so much.
yes,
It
yes,
takes it takes a lot to take that leap. I know.
yes,
It takes a lot.
it
I
is
love
gut,
that you did that.
it is gutsy for sure. But I'm like, what does this look like to go all in on Olivia Cooke? How can I almost multiply my talents and be able to be in this space and help multiple different entities in this space? And so under Olivia Cook Enterprises, I have OVA consulting firm where I've started my own company, and I help those nonprofits, higher education institutions, and government entities around professional development and training, program management and evaluation, professional speaking and writing, and also policy recommendation and analysis. So I have been going all in, and ever since people found out about me going all in on myself, it has been nonstop of folks reaching out and wanting to do business. So it's been exciting.
I mean, if you think about it, besides the bio that I read, I mean, well, along with the bio that I read, you literally have this phenomenal track record of success and education and development and that mindset of constant growth. Like
Mhm.
you're in it.
Oh yeah.
So to know that and where you've been to lead you to this point and finally like create the trust fall for yourself
Oh yeah.
is amazing. I think I am super excited. That's awesome.
I appreciate that. It's definitely an exciting journey to be on for sure.
So let me ask you this and transitioning to our topic at hand,
Absolutely.
mentorship. Did that help steer you in the direction to finally take that leap?
Oh, absolutely. Being and mentorship is so important, right? Because it can provide you with those unspoken or unwritten rules that you know nothing about, right? And
Yep.
it can get you access to people, places, and things that you know nothing about as well. And so for me, being able to be introduced to a person like a President Bobby Knight and sending those follow-up emails, it was a game changer. And I told her she was a game changer, you know, and
Yep.
she is absolutely incredible in her own right, but being able to see talent and grow talent was incredible and amazing to me because I had been on the job market for a year and a half. And so I had met with different CEOs, presidents, vice presidents, you name it, I met with them. And it wasn't like, oh, we're just going to meet for, 10, 15 minutes. It was 30 minutes to an hour phone calls, Zoom calls, trying to sell myself, trying to be in front of them. But it was, to me, I'm a person of faith. It was amazing how God sort of orchestrated those connections and dots because getting connected to President Knight and being able to stand up the Center for Economic and Social Justice, those same people who I met with in that year and a half were the same people who I was actually collaborating with during my time at Miles. And so also
Yep.
same people who I was writing grants and things for, they were giving grants to us because they remembered my work. They remembered me, hustling during that time and during that process and was like, okay, I want to support her because I know she's going to go after it. So
Now,
yes.
when you met with her, because I have been in that space with other people that you just know,
Oh
like
yeah.
that, the qualities, I mean, it just radiates off of who they are.
Oh yeah.
They don't give you the checklist, anything like that. You just know from the conversations
Oh
that.
yeah.
So what qualities were you looking for that she provided you? And then not only that, like, what would you generally say, like, the qualities are?
Yeah, I would definitely say, particularly to President Knight, it was definitely around her authenticity. I told her she is authentic in everything she does and what she says, her actions, and she draws people in, being her true self and
Yep.
showing up as her true self. And I think that's important, especially as a Black woman, because sometimes we can go in spaces that may not be majority of who we are and we tend to code switch, but
Yes,
she does
yes,
code switch at all.
which I love that, which thank you for saying that because I think that Black women, white women, even Black men, we had, like, minorities,
Mhm,
like, everybody has this tendency to be what they believe that they're supposed to be in the
mhm,
professional space. When
mhm.
in reality, you should be being your true authentic self, and that's how you can elevate that entire environment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because authenticity is contagious. If
Yep,
you're authentic, you encourage somebody else to bring up and show up as their full self as well and be authentic too. And so she was definitely authentic. Definitely she saw talent and knew talent. So I didn't have to sell myself a million times. For her to offer me the job
yep,
in one meeting, we met for 2 hours, only supposed to meet for 30 minutes. We met for 2 hours. And for her to offer me a job in that moment, to me, that was incredible. That's someone who has vision, So for me, she also had vision. She knew what she wanted to do, and it was just perfect timing, for us to meet one another. And someone who doesn't care about being the stage, but also setting the stage. I think for me, that's what she was able to do. And that's what I also look for in a mentor, just in general, someone who doesn't have to be like, oh, me, watch me do this, watch me be your mentor,
yes.
me, in those spaces, but someone who lifts you up, and who's lifting as they climb continuously. So I think those are definitely not just qualities for President Knight, but just in general, as a mentor and someone who can lead you, who can guide you, but also someone who could develop to being a sponsor because mentorship is great, right? But we also need that sponsor in that space who can take your CV and put it in a room that you know nothing about, or take your name and put your name in a room you know nothing about, and give you opportunities and give you different lessons and things that can help you grow not just professionally but also personally as well.
Yeah, sponsors are the VIPs of mentors.
Oh
They
yeah.
really are.
Oh yeah, for
Like, I'm
sure.
always like, I don't want it just an accountability coach. I want somebody who's going to guide me, yeah, follow in and check in on me, but
Hmm.
also be the person who will mention my name in a room.
Oh yeah.
If there is space and it makes sense for me to be called out, call me out.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
absolutely agree with that completely. Now, the other thing that I have noticed, and I have to ask you because I am pretty sure you are a mentor and sponsor for many, many, many people,
Yeah.
is on the mentee side.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm a huge it's just like with empathy. Like it's not a one-way street, it's both ways. Like, you have to, like, not only receive it, but you also need to provide it, and I think that comes also with the mentor-mentee relationship as well.
Mhm. Mhm. No, I completely agree. And being on the being on both sides, right? Speaking as a mentor and also as a mentee, those relationships are cyclical. They're
Mhm.
very cyclical, and I don't think that you should just have one mentor or one mentee, right? You should have multiple. And for me, especially as I mentioned, some of the different career transitions that I have experienced and different pivots that I've had in my life, it's important to have mentors and even mentees in those spaces in that career field that you're interested in or in that major that you're interested in. And then once you realize that season is up, okay, now it's time to get some new mentors or new mentees in that space. You don't necessarily need to keep those same people along with you for the rest of your life, because in life, as I mentioned, we have pivots, we have things, we
Yes.
adjust, and so it's important to also have your mentorship and mentee relationships adjust as well. And being on the mentor side, to me, you tend to learn more when you have a mentee. You learn more about yourself, you learn more about your leadership style, you learn more about how to advocate for others and how to be a champion, how to be a fan of somebody else and not just think about me. And on the mentee relationship side, you're able to see it before you see it. And I think that's critically important, especially as a person of color, as a Black woman. As it's important for us to be able to see other Black women in the spaces and in the places that we ultimately want to be in. And so for me, for so long, I was like, man, transitioning from that medical school dream, I was like, okay, I get a PhD, be able to be in higher education. What does it look like for me being a president of an institution? And so I thought back also on one of the early conversations that I had with my dad. And when I told him about medical school and everything, he was like, how many doctors do you have in your phone? Do you have any doctors' names in your phone? And at the time, I was like, no, why do I need their names in my phone? He was like, well, you said you want to be an MD, you want to be a doctor. You need to be associated with MDs and doctors. You need to be able to call somebody, have them on speed dial or redial, because they need to be your network. And
It's
so,
true.
man, when he told me that in undergrad, that has been my philosophy in everything that I do. And so, for me, and wanted to be a college president one day, it was like, how many college presidents do I have in my phone? Now I can proudly say I have 10 college presidents' name and numbers in my phone where I can call them immediately and be like, hey, X, Y, and Z, or hey, I need help in this space. So that has been a game changer. So it's important, critically important, to have those mentee and mentor relationships in the fields and spaces that you're in or the fields and spaces that you want to be in.
I completely agree. I mean, that's really like even with Dandelion-Inc, that is the base of it. So you are surrounded by other female entrepreneurs, those that are looking to grow and to scale. I think
Yes.
it's so essential to have that the power of influence, of positive influence to help you grow. If you're being out on an island or in a silo is not a good thing. It's just
Mhm.
definitely not. So you do need to make sure that you are around. So your father was absolutely correct.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So with that, how would you say like building a strong relationship between the mentor and mentee would be? Like I sit there and think a lot about how at one point in time, because I've had people come and ask me, like, "Will you mentor me?"
Mhm.
And
Mm.
I am all in because that's usually how
Mhm.
I work. Like, people
Right.
should be very worried about telling me anything that they want to aspire or dream to do because I will be your biggest cheerleader. So just watch it. If it's just the thought, I'm gonna make it into a creation for you.
This is it. This is it.
But but there have been times, and maybe this is why I've come on too strong, talk about learning about yourself. But but there are times that I am all in, and then all of a sudden they're not showing up.
Mm, mm.
So I think making sure you have that built-in strong relationship with them is so essential. So then your mentor knows, why aren't you showing up?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's definitely critically important because you want it to be fruitful, right? You want
Mhm.
it to bear something from that relationship. And I feel like you and I we're on that same wavelength, especially being I'm a type A for sure, and I feel like you're a type A as well. And
Maybe a
are you
little.
type A? A
Maybe a
little?
little.
Okay. So
I
for
am
me,
way
I'm
more flexible though in life than what I used to be when I was younger.
But when you talk about being all in, that's how
Yep,
I am as well. I'm all in. I'm gonna follow up with you. I'm gonna check in.
yep,
I'm gonna do all those things. But I think, like in terms of being a mentor and your mentees, maybe taking a back seat and may not be showing up as you mentioned, as they were showing up in the beginning. I think that's where the relationship comes into place. That's where the authenticity comes into place, and the friendship comes into place. Because I think
exactly.
mentorship is about friendship as well. It's not just I have all this experience. I'm here and you're there and you're trying to get here. You know, it's also about let me meet you where you are. And so it's important because the relationship is so cyclical and it ebbs and flows. It goes up, it
Mhm.
goes down. Like, you know, it's not supposed to stay the same all the time. Even for me, one of my biggest mentors who I met in undergrad, her name is Dr. Belle Whelan, and she is the president of the Southern Association of Schools and Commission on Colleges, so SACCOC, which is the accreditation body for all of the higher education institutions in the Southeast. And so all of anybody who is a president of a higher education institution, they report to her. And so in meeting her and sending that cold email, introducing myself to her, she was definitely we were really hanging tight, if you will, the first like year and a half. I would drive to Atlanta and meet with her every 3 months. That was just our thing. We would go meet every 3 months, have lunch, and do all of that. And since when I got the position at Miles, it sort of fell back, right? Because now I'm in this new position. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to,
Yep.
have meet with my advisory council and do all these different things. But now it has definitely come back up again. So it ebbs and flows. It just depends on where you are in life, and that doesn't mean that person as a mentee that person doesn't want you to be a mentor anymore, or the mentor doesn't want to be with you anymore. It just means that life happens, and you have to just adjust with life and be okay with those adjustments, because uh, every good thing circles back around. So
100%. This is why
yeah.
you also shouldn't burn bridges.
Oh, not at all. I do not believe in burning bridges. No,
No.
not at all. So it comes back around, it comes back around. So, and Dr. Whelan and I hadn't talked in about, I would say about 2 years. We're friends on like social media and stuff, but we hadn't talked like on the phone in 2 years. And probably about 2 weeks ago, I gave her a call. She was like, Dr. Cook, how are you? I've been thinking about you. So, no, those relationships and those mentors who know.
Oop. Oh, hold on. Got it. So those relationships is where you left off?
Yes, those relationships and those mentors who knows that it ebbs and flows. I think those are so important, critically important to continue to nurture and love on, because as I mentioned before, life happens. We can't control it.
I have to ask you this because this is something that goes through my mind when that happens. I think of our own roadblocks
Oh yeah.
that we have a tendency to self-sabotage ourselves, and we allow other things to keep us from doing the things that we want to do because we're so stinking afraid to do them.
Yes. Yes, yes,
That's
yes.
what I think goes on in their minds. And granted, there are also those occasions that you're like, life happens, you have no idea what they're dealing with that may
Mhm.
have derailed them from the task at hand, but that doesn't mean that they're off course.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. No, I completely agree, and, it's important to have empathy,
Mhm.
and be sensitive to those different moments of a person's life because we're all out here trying to figure it out, Everybody's still trying to figure it out, and I think that's also important why you shouldn't just have one mentor. You need multiple mentors
Yes,
because if you stick with just one and you stick with just their perspective or their advice on a certain thing, it may not be always the best one for the situation that you're going through or the people that you're trying to navigate or the corporate politics or any of those things that you find yourself dealing with on a day-to-day basis. But for me, having those different mentors, having different perspectives and having different people to lean on and touch base with is so important, and it helps you in more ways than one because you then get to adjust and see how you want to be a mentor yourself to other folks, in the space and how you want to navigate your life, in both professionally and personally.
I think about that even with friends. I mean, I have friends that are still like family to me, but I can go months without speaking to them and
Mhm.
still have the ability to check in and get really good sage advice from them, whether on a personal or professional level,
Absolutely.
depending on who they are. And I also am, I don't know about you, but I'm a big input person. So when
Hmm.
you said have lots of mentors, like I do agree completely. Never just have one person, have many of them. Ask them all the same questions, take in all of their advice, and then reflect and figure out which is going to be the best for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the key word you just said is reflect. You don't have to take everybody's advice. You don't, you like it's your life, it's your decision. So it's important to get their perspectives and their viewpoints and, what they
Yes.
would do per se. But ultimately, the decision is up to you. So reflect on it, sit on it for a little bit, and then you make the decision that's best for you, your family, your relationship, whatever you're going through, make it for you, not for them.
Exactly. And a true mentor would never say, well, you didn't do exactly what I told you to do.
Yes.
So
Oh, yeah.
so I'm out because again, it's really not about them, it's about you.
About you. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely.
Well, I just wanna say you're amazing, thank you, and I am so
Woo.
excited about your adventure coming and going full swing, and I do if you with all the listeners out there, shout it out loud what you are doing and how they can reach you for your help.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I have OVA Consulting Firm, which specializes in professional development and training, program management and evaluation, professional speaking and writing, and also policy recommendation and analysis. And so if you want to get in contact, you can go to www.droliviacooke.com. I'm easily accessible. My email and everything is on there. My email is oliviaonpurpose@gmail.com, and feel free to reach out. I specialize in a few different primary impact areas, which are leadership, entrepreneurship, economic and business development, education, and also DEI. So if you need anything, feel free to reach out to me. I'm super excited about this new venture and can't wait to see where it leads me.
It's going to lead you to great places, I already see it.
I believe it. Thank you so much, Lisa. And thank you to the listeners and to all the folks that we have on the call right now, too. I'm excited about our discussion.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's open it up. I am going to ask to unmute. Well, Jasmine will probably not unmute, but Jasmine did have a question. How do you handle different mentors telling you opposing advice, especially with pricing for services? I know what she's getting at. So with her photography business, she Jasmine does all the right things, making sure that she connects with people within her industry and takes advice from them. And her and I have even discussed this because you take into positioning the advice for instance, clearly, somebody in New York or California is going to state that my pricing is low. However, I take into account the market that I'm currently in. I know that's what Jasmine has done as well, but I believe that's where her question is stemming from.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely agree with you. Take into consideration the market that you're in and the people you want to serve, your target audience, your target customers, because that's going to be critically important. Of course, receive the advice from your different mentors, and even if it's opposing advice, receive that as well. Write it down, have it in your notes, but ultimately do what's best for you and your company and your target audience and who you are looking to serve, right? And so it's important to for me, especially in looking at the business side of things, it's important to have that company domestically that you are looking at, and also an international company that you're looking to mirror. So have
Yes,
both of those companies that you're looking at to build your service, your pricing, your business, because you want to see what your competitors are doing, right? And even reaching out to them to see how they're pricing things. So I think that's important as well. Sending those cold emails, those cold calls, because people, they're ready and willing to provide information and to answer. You just have to do that first step.
I agree completely. What would be your thoughts on if she even went with one of the higher pricing advices that she received from a mentor and stuck with it, but, like, made offers to try to get to that, like, pinpointed number? I think it or would you think that's better to start off lower, I guess? I don't know. I'm going down a rabbit hole with this, but starting off lower and then scaling up from there based upon demand.
I think what's important is to do customer discovery. So
Yeah.
once you understand who your customers are and who you're looking to target and service, it's important to conduct some of those customer interviews, right? And so reaching out to, I always say 30 to 50 different people, and having those interviews and telling them, the problem that people don't care about, the product or service. To be honest, they care about the problem that you're solving. So you're solving a problem for them. So make sure, the business is all around that problem. And then tell them about your solution, right? Tell them about the solution that you're looking to bring and all of that. And then ask them in some of those customer interviews, ask them how much would they pay for X, Y, and Z, right? How much would you pay for this package? How much would you pay for destination photography? So you have to ask them those questions, so that way you can get a real and true answer, if you will, once you're able to survey them and get more information from them. So I don't always advise of just putting a number out there and seeing what sticks. It's important to listen to your customers first, so that way you can see where you should start off at, and then you can adjust from there.
I love that advice. Let's see, could this start as a digital survey with follow-ups via phone with a few?
I definitely think I always advise those in person interviews or phone interviews if you can, because sometimes people won't say all they need to say or provide all the information on a digital survey. They're just like, either A, they won't do it, or B, they'll do it quickly and not give you all the information that you need for your business. So I would definitely strongly suggest the in person interviews or phone interviews if you can. And then if that just, becomes a hassle and doesn't work, of course you can do those digital surveys, but you want to definitely leverage the relationships, right? Because ultimately you want them to be your customer one day, not just getting the information from them and telling them what you provide, but you ultimately want to transition them to being a customer, a paying customer.
Oh, I agree completely. Phone over digital all the
Hmm.
way.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
I thought it was pretty neat that you talked about having more than one mentor. I don't think I really ever thought about that until she started talking about that.
Oh yeah, it's important. Even for me right now, I have about 10 mentors that I reach out to on a semi-regular basis, just to touch base, just to get advice about this thing, that thing. And so once you're able to have those perspectives and viewpoints, man, it's a game changer, and don't confine yourself to that one person, because you'll say you end up making a decision based off of that one person's advice, and you're like, man, I shouldn't have made that decision.
Mhm.
done that, and you begin to regret something. So having different vantage points to help you look at the big picture and be a bit more objective, if they can, in that regard, that'll help tremendously.
Yeah, I agree completely. You need to have more than just one singular person. Because, I mean, if you think about it, if it's only one person that's giving you a message, then it's the message that is coming from only one perspective.
Hmm. Hmm.
Really getting a full picture is to grab as much information as possible from a lot of other credible resources, not just any mentor, but like quality mentors that like fall in line with where you're looking to go.
Right,
Mhm.
right, and preferably someone who isn't close to to the organization that you're in, right? Because of course it's great to have mentors within your organization, but also have that outside mentor who doesn't know, anyone from a can of paint. You want to have those outside mentors so that way they can give an objective view and you tell them the full story of, hey, X, Y, and Z happened and I'm trying to navigate this. And so they don't know any of those, relationships or what such and such did to you or how they made you feel. They're giving you their objective viewpoint on the information that you provided them.
And sometimes when you're looking for those outsiders as well, they'll ask you questions that someone on the inside wouldn't ask you.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. They definitely will. And they'll push your thinking, and make sure that you're not wearing your emotions on your sleeves, because a lot of times as women, we can wear our emotions on our sleeves and think someone is doing something to us when
Yes.
a lot of the times they're doing it for us. We just can't see that because we're so into the weeds of everything.
Anybody else have any questions, comments? Well, then I just am going to make this one additional comment. You are amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I hope that this is the start of a friendship moving forward.
absolutely. It
And
definitely will be.
if you're ever in Youngstown, Ohio, come hang out. And I will definitely knock on your door when I'm in Birmingham. Are you
Yes, please do.
are you sticking in Birmingham?
I am for right now. So I just got engaged 3 months ago, and my fiance lives in Auburn, and so we're our wedding date is December 12th of this year,
Oh,
and
yay.
I
Oh
will
my
likely
gosh,
be
you have a ton of great things happening.
yes, I'll likely be moving back to Auburn at the end of this year to be with him. So, but I'm still in Birmingham for right now. Yes.
All right. Well, I hope your weather's a little bit better than ours today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again, Lisa. I appreciate the connection. I appreciate the invite onto the podcast. This has definitely been an exciting and fun time with you and your viewers and listeners. And I'm excited for what the seed will produce the rest of this year and how it will impact and touch many, many more people and women in these spaces.
Well, it wouldn't be able to happen for people like you, so thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.